or the One, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of Guidance. See, these are the words of Hazrat Pir Murshid Inayat Khan. The ego is made by the first impression of the soul. This impression throws back the ray which turns into a circling current of life, light, and energy, which is the breath. Therefore, the Sufi calls the ego and the breath by one term, nafs. The breath is what connects us with God, and the breath connects us also with manifestation. The breath is the current which is established between all planes of existence. Its current runs from the life unseen to the life on the surface, thus uniting spirit and matter both. Therefore, the Sufi takes the breath as the means of getting what he wants from the life unseen to the life on the surface, also making it a means of sending what is wished from the life external to the life within. In breath abides all the mystery there is. The Sufi's object being self-realization by the ideal of God, the Sufi works for its attainment by means of the breath, and an ideal so attained becomes one's property, one's kingdom forever. So a little bit ago, Pirzia gave us what is these days known as the long form of the purification breaths. So let's run through that again one more time. So start by taking the thumb of the right hand. Everybody put your right hand in the air. At this point in the retreat, I have to ask. Put it right above your Adam's apple. The middle finger of the right hand will control the right nostril. The thumb of the left hand, that's the one that's left over, controls the left nostril, and your fingers just curl naturally around the edge of your right hand. Because the breath is different on the two sides of the body, this position, this mudra, is exactly balanced. There are other mudras that are used for the control of the nostrils. This one is balanced. So, begin by exhaling fully. Actually, even before you do that, lift your breastbone, drop your shoulders back, drop your chin a little bit, move your head back over your shoulders so that we have an erect spine. Exhale fully, and inhale and exhale through the left nostril 5 times. And then without a break, reverse that, inhaling and exhaling through the right nostril 5 times. Inhaling through the left nostril, exhaling through the right nostril 5 times. Without a break, inhaling through the left nostril, exhaling through the pursed lips 5 times. Without a break, inhaling through the right nostril, exhaling through the pursed lips 5 times. And without a break, inhaling through the pursed lips, exhaling through the left nostril 5 times. And without a break, inhaling through the pursed lips, exhaling through the right nostril 5 times. When you're finished, hands palms down on the knees. Inhaling and exhaling through both nostrils 5 times. And without a break, inhaling through both nostrils, exhaling through the pursed lips 5 times. And without a break, inhaling through the pursed lips, exhaling through both nostrils 5 times. And without a break, inhaling and exhaling through the pursed lips 5 times. and relax. And just note any changes in your state, any changes in your subtle energies, any changes in your aura if you're aware of it. So you can do this practice every day in the morning after shower, teeth brush. And it's recommended to do this before any other practices. You can do it at other times of the day with great benefit, especially if you are a healer or psychotherapist or work in a particularly messy emotional environment. This is a very good thing to do at other times of the day for a quick tune-up. The breath, the movement of life force through us goes through different cycles. And the elements of earth, water, fire, and air predominate in the breath in a cycle several times over the course of 24 hours. And when this cycle is in right order and right balance, then life tends to move smoothly. And there are things which will upset the order and upset the balance. And so we may be in a condition where there's too much earth predominating in the breath, and it's difficult to get things moving. Or there may be fire predominating in the breath when what's really needed is more fluidity. And so these predominances of an element in the breath are marked by particular patterns of one nostril or the other being more open, and there being greater openness in either the inhale or the exhale. And there are particular patterns that are characteristic of each of the elements. And this can be observed if you are attentive. You can notice whether one nostril is more open or more closed, or whether there is more openness on the inhale or the exhale. And this practice of the long form of the purification breaths hits all of those patterns. And the number 5 is just enough, and more won't help. So it sets all of those patterns into a completely neutral gear. And from that place, the right order and right succession and right balance of the elements is reestablished in your breath. So drawing our attention to our experience in the moment, just starting from where we are. We've just done a practice to set ourselves into a state of balance. And balance is dynamic. It's not something to be attained and then we're done. It's like balance on a bicycle is really only possible when the bicycle is moving, and life is movement at all levels. And so being with this movement of life in a state of balance and fluidity is part of the art of living. So being with our experience, just noticing any physical sensations that you have. Whatever we have is okay. We can only start from where we're at. We can't start from where we're not. However high your spiritual ideals, we can only start in the present moment where we're at. And in that moment, if we're attentive, everything necessary is given. Everything necessary is given by the very nature that we exist. And this support for being is inherent in our existence, and there's nothing that we have to do to deserve it, or improve it, or fix it. Much of living life from a spiritual perspective involves this training that we're undergoing, which, as much as anything, helps us stop doing all of the stuff that we're doing that keeps us from presence. And so making our awareness, making our focus very fine, you may become aware of a sensation of buzzing or streaming or flowing or movement of energy, of life force in your body. You may feel it more some places than others. You may feel it more in your hands and forearms and your face. You may feel it less on your backside. And just be attentive to that. Notice where it shows up, notice where it's strong, notice where there seems to be less of it. And if you wish, as an experiment, you can imagine a magic passageway from your lungs that can go into every part of your body and follow the direction of your intention and your will. And as though you can breathe air into different parts of your body from your lungs, inhaling down into the bowl of your pelvis, filling the whole trunk of your body with air and life. And you can breathe into any places that seem to be congested or muddy. And if you wish, you can bring to mind a quality of physical light, like yesterday afternoon's sunlight. And with your creative imagination, you can bring yourself present to that quality of light and the effect that it had on you at that time. You can bring that into the present moment, and you can breathe that light from where it still exists. And it's not just the light that reflects from things, but it's the light that's between things. And as though that light were a subtle substance that exists between the molecules of the air that you breathe in and out, you can breathe that light through this magic passageway into different parts of your body, sending life force and illumination to those places. So breathing right down into the floor of your pelvis, filling the trunk of your body with life force and light on the inhale. And if you wish, you can gather up any feelings of muddiness or congestion, and you can breathe them out on the exhale, releasing them from you. And you can extend this magic passageway on your inhale all the way down, each leg down into each toe, And you can breathe down each arm, each in turn, down to each fingertip. And you can breathe up through your neck, into your head, into your brain case, inhaling light and life force. And on the exhale, releasing yourself of any dross, any muddiness. If you're feeling a little bit drowsy as you come to this early morning meditation, you can experiment with using your breath as the gentlest of washcloths to gently cleanse that sense of sleepiness from your being and just release it from you on the exhale. And any places in your body that feel contracted or painful, you can wash them with your breath. And you may become aware as you do this that this feeling of streaming, tingling movement is increasing. And if your awareness is very subtle, you may begin to become aware of the sense that this streaming and moving interpenetrates the whole of your body and actually extends beyond your skin a few fractions of an inch or even a couple or 3 or 4 inches all the way around you. And you might get the sense that as it follows the outline of your physical body, it also goes completely through your physical body. And you may experience it more in the front of your body than in the back. And if that's the case, try breathing into the space at the back of your body. And if your awareness is very subtle, you may begin to discern particular currents in this flow of breath and life force all around you and all through you. And if your awareness is very subtle, you may become aware of yet another, in a sense, energy body, roughly egg-shaped, extending all around you, as far as a couple or 3 feet away. And when we are in a condition of balance, this egg-shaped subtle body extends as far below our feet as it does above our head. And it extends about as far in back as it does in front, because it doesn't have a front or a back. And again, it interpenetrates and extends completely through the first subtle body and through our physical body. Now shifting gears just a little bit, bringing our attention to the area of the physical body, often called the solar plexus. You'll find it a couple of fingers to 3 or 4 inches below the bottom end of your sternum. Find out where it is for you. Don't move it to try to make it look like something you saw in a book or that you got at another seminar. And it will have a quality of a little more vulnerability or receptiveness or tenderness, perhaps, than the area around it. And it may be anywhere from the diameter of a golf ball to the diameter of a saucer. Find out what it is for you. It may feel more open and vulnerable, or it may feel more armored. Find out what it is for you. And let your awareness gently abide at the solar plexus. And with your concentration, with your intention, with your awareness, and your creative imagination, imagine, feel, experience, make up, contrive that this area of the solar plexus is a kind of an opening or a kind of a portal. And it may feel to you like the aperture of a camera lens that opens and closes, or the pupil of an eye that opens and closes with more light or less light. And at this point, it usually helps to drop the chin just a little bit more. And turning our attention more directly to the solar plexus, concentrating upon it. And as though this were a kind of doorway that you can actually peer inside. It may feel like a trap door in the floor that you can lift the lid, and on your hands and knees you can bend down and look and see what's inside of it. And on your inhale, on some next inhale, when you're ready, Move with your awareness into this portal of the solar plexus. And on the exhale, letting your focus and your awareness emerge a little bit. And on the next inhale, breathe in, and with your awareness, as though there's this little you that can turn and move into this portal of the solar plexus like you're walking through a gate. And on the exhale, moving back out a little bit. And on each next inhale, moving more deeply into this domain of the solar plexus. And at some point when you choose, moving as deeply as you can into the solar plexus with your breath and with your awareness, move all the way in and don't come out on the exhale. Just let your body exhale. And you'll get this feeling of turning inside out and upside down to move through this portal of the solar plexus into this interior dimension. And it takes a little bit of practice to work with this transposition of things. And on each inhale, extend your focus, your awareness, your attention, your being ever more deeply into this realm of the solar plexus, into the dimension that's behind it. And you'll find that this dimension is boundless. Space doesn't mean the same thing here as it does on the surface. Everything is about as equally close as far away. And in this domain, there are less things than there are pure potentials. And there's movement and there's direction. And in this domain, which the Sufis call Nakoja Abad, which roughly translated means the inverted space, or the spaceless space, here there is no ego. There is no fear. There is no lack of anything. And anyone and anything is reachable from inside of this dimension. And on the inside are the seeds of all events, all things, before they concretize into manifestation. And so coming back to the relation of this with the breath. On each inhale, move as deeply as you can into this interior boundlessness. And on the exhale, allow yourself to emerge back through the portal at the solar plexus and becoming aware of that transposition between the two worlds. And just practice moving smoothly back and forth across this portal. And in a sense, as we breathe on the physical plane, as we inhale on the physical plane, we are in a sense exhaling into this interior boundlessness. And as we exhale on the physical plane, we are in a sense inhaling from the interior boundlessness. So I'll say that again. As we inhale on the physical plane in 3D reality, we are exhaling into this boundlessness. And as we exhale on the physical plane, we are inhaling from this interior boundlessness. So feel that as it occurs. Feel it intensely. And as you do that, relax. Relax the edges of your felt sense of yourself. And as you do this, you may become aware in a very direct, presential way of just how enormous this flow between the worlds really is. This flow itself is boundless. And it's moving both directions at once. And the seeds of all events and all things and all lives are existentiated on this current. And we're also seeding the unseen, the realms of mind and the realms of archetype with what we create in our individuated individual minds. And on our individual breath, that's part of this current between the worlds, we are seeding the unseen with what we create. We're seeding it with what we create consciously, and we're seeding it with what we create unconsciously. And as long as we believe that we are individuals, the universe acts like a dome with a reflective inner surface. And what we put into that dome returns to us at some point. And the term that we have for this is karma. And as you work with the breath, as it moves between the worlds, this distinction of this world and that world begins to blur a little bit. Mevlana Rumi speaks of making the two worlds one, or seeing the two worlds as one. This is it. And you may get the sensation at some point, as you're breathing between the worlds and observing the enormity of the flow between them. You might get a sense of your being flattening out, and that all that exists is this portal between the worlds. And that's a real awareness. In many ways, that's what a human being is a conscious portal or an unconscious portal between the worlds. So much of what we take to be ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, are things that we are abstracting from this flow between the worlds. Things which feel like myself. That strange sensation that each one of us has. That which is what the psychologists call ego-syntonic, that which is consistent with our image of ourselves, our felt sense of our identity. We will continue to abstract and draw from this flow those things which are in alignment with that felt sense of ourselves. And we'll tend to ignore or reject that which is not. And we will seed the inner plane with more of that stuff, and then it comes back to us as more of who we take ourselves to be, in a self-reinforcing kind of pattern. And so, spiritual teachers are always telling us, watch your breath. This is watching your breath. Doesn't mean just feeling for a moment the physical air that we squish in and out. Watching your breath is watching everything that moves on your breath. And taking some degree of responsibility for that. Exercising some degree of choice. The breath is the current which is established between all planes of existence. Its current runs from the life unseen to the life on the surface, thus uniting spirit and matter both. We ordinarily think of the breath as that little air that we feel coming and going through the nostrils, but we do not think of it as that vast current that goes through everything, that current which comes from the consciousness and goes as far as the external being, the physical world. Breath penetrates, breath permeates, breath strikes, breath absorbs, breath invigorates, and breath heals. It is therefore that souls with great powers make their thought and feeling penetrate into the mind and hearts of others. As breath creates an atmosphere, it permeates the bodies of others, also the sphere, charging the whole atmosphere with its particular magnetism. So this next little piece I'm going to read is from a book entitled The Teachers of Gurdjieff. It purports to be the travelogue of a man following the passing of Gurdjieff, looking for the source of his teachings. And he travels all through the Mideast and Central Asia looking for Gurdjieff's teachers. And he interviews them. Now, if you count on your fingers, you'll figure out pretty quickly that this is temporally impossible. Yet, in each chapter of this book, there's a teaching. And this particular kind of literature is a very traditional device, where the protagonist, the writer, portrays himself as a doofus and is roundly reprimanded at every turn by the teacher that he interviews. And so this is a little bit of this book. So this book is not factual, but it's true. And he's interviewing one of Gurdjieff's teachers, and as we break into the interview, the Sheikh is speaking. I taught Gurdjieff to breathe. I say this, and you burst into a flood of hows and whys, and ifs and buts, and can I teach you? The answer is, I can, but I will not. May I ask, Sheikh, why only breathing? Only, stupid question. More stupid than to have asked why or how. Do you think that to learn to breathe correctly is easy? Does your shallow panting do more than supply your blood with the minimum amount of oxygen needed to keep that portion of your brain that you use alive? He's harsh. One of the functions of correct breathing is to carry the baraka to the furthest recesses of the deep consciousness. Undeveloped people try to use thought or random action to affect the consciousness. Neither of these works, as the dose and the direction and the intensity are not known to them. Only to breathe. Do you know how long it takes before you can be trained to take your first real breath? Months and even years, and then only when you know what you are aiming for. Gurdjieff came to me with a capacity to breathe, and I taught him how to do it, and how to breathe with his system, his consciousness, and his entire being. You breathe to sustain your level of existence. The adept breathes to maintain the breakthrough that has been made into a superior realm of being. Your ignorance, while not surprising, terrifies me. Gurdjieff stayed with me for 20 years. Yes, 20 years. 5 months in Erzurum, and the remainder of the time in rapport with me wherever he was learning to use his breath. Do you know what can be carried into your consciousness by your breath? Do you know why a sheikh will breathe on a disciple? Do you know why a sheikh breathes into the ear of a newly born child? Of course, you do not. You put it down to magic, primitive symbols representing life, but the practical reasons, the deadly serious business of nourishing the inner consciousness passes you by, flows over your head, bent as it is over physiology, psychology, causative phenomena, theoretic ecstasies. Yes, I taught Gurdjieff to breathe, no more, no less. If you can start to have the vaguest impression of what could really mean, then you have promise. So as you work with awareness of the breath moving between the worlds and what is carried on it, and how the zikr is a breath practice, and how the turn of the dervishes is a breath practice. Your felt sense of yourself will at some point come into an alignment with how we are being breathed by the universe. And how we are at every moment given breath and given life, and how we, in surrender, release it. And that's a real breath. That's taking a real breath. So thank you very much.